So today what we are going to discuss? What we are going to discuss today? So create a package. Package. So create a package inheritance and you can create a class inheritance demo or something. So what is inheritance? What is the meaning of the word inheritance? Just search the word meaning. Correct. Louder. Acquiring properties of one class to another. So the first class will be parent class and second class will be child class. So we are taking all the properties. What are the properties available in a class? What is called property? Property of a class. What are the details available in a class? Variables, methods, all item, whatever we are creating inside the class, that is the property, right? All that property I can use in another class without creating an object. Correct? We don't have to create an object for that, because till now whatever we did is like we created a blueprint class and we created an object in another file. Correct? Another class file. Then we used that properties. Correct? But here we don't have to create an object. We are just connecting these classes. We are taking all the properties from one class to another class. Understanding? Property we are sharing with another class. So one class is taking all the properties of another class. So that first class will be parent class and second class will be child class. So how we can acquire all the properties of one class to another? Extend. Okay, so I will create one class here. I'm giving the name parent class. It can be superclass and subclass or parent class and child class. Different names are there. So I'm giving parent class here. I'm adding some properties here. How can I take all the properties of one class to another class? Subclass name? Extends. Correct? Okay, is there any property available inside this class? So can I create an object of this class even though properties are not there? Can I create an object? Consider we are not extending, just consider we are not extending any classes. Just one class is there. We don't have any property. Can I create an object? We don't have tried that, right? We will try that also first, then we will extend it. So from inheritance, this is the main class, because main method is there. So how can I create an object of child class? What is the syntax of creating child object? Class name dot class name and object name, then new. What is constructor here? Child class constructor. So obj. Any data are available in this? No. So I cannot store anything, I cannot take anything. Correct? There is no data. So we can create object in this way, but there is no use of it because there is no fields to store any values or retrieve any value, right? So this is not an error. That idea I am giving. So I can create an object in that way. So can you see anything inside this object? Any methods, any variables? No, right? All the items that you can see, from which class it is? From which class is this items you can see in this class? You can see the class name here. We already discussed yesterday, whatever classes we are creating in Java is considering as a subclass of object class. We don't have to write specifically, we don't have to write extends object. Correct? Inheritance means what? We have to write child class extends parent class. But even though if we are not writing for, like I created a class here, this class is also considering as a child class of object class. Understanding what I am saying? So that is by default. By default, whatever classes we are creating in Java is considering as a subclass of object class. That is why we can see here these many items, because I have not created anything in my child class, but I can see something which some items are there available, and that items are from which class? Object class. Clear? ToString method also you can see. It is not from our class, it is from object class. So this itself says what? We can acquire properties of one class into another class. So that is what we are going to experience right now. So parent class, like I have created two classes inside the same file. Correct? I can create that in different files also. You don't have to confuse. You can create in different file. So file name is what? Child class. In this way we can create in different files also. So only one class is there, right? And how can I acquire all the properties of my parent class? So we have to use here extends parent class. Correct? So all the properties available inside this class, right now it is also available in this child class. So I am not going to create anything here. Right now I will directly go to the main method. Have I saved the code? No, right? I have to save all the changes. Okay. In main method, what is the error? Okay, my spelling is wrong. Yes, I have created the object, right? Right now, how many items are available in object? Anything added? What is these two items? Name and number. That is one, name is string, number is integer. From where we are accessing this? Parent class. So parent class item right now available in child class, right? So one class can take all the properties of another class. Understanding what I am saying? using the concept of inheritance, we can take all the properties of one class to another class. So I don't have to create any object or any like we are not accessing all the data using any object kind concept, right? We are accessing using inheritance concept. So class, all the items of this class I am taking into this class using extends keyword. Any doubt in this? I can also add some more elements here, right? So right now, how many datas are there in parent class? If I am creating an object of parent class, how many datas are available right now? 2. How many datas are available? Okay, I am taking name, so I will print the data. Here we will get default data, default values, right? Because we are not assigning any data. So p dot name I am printing. Here p dot number I am printing. 2 datas. Here how many datas are available? Why? Already from parent class we have 2 datas available in this child class. Child class also contains some. So like we can say, consider parent class and child class is there. Parent class have n items. Child class have m items. So in child class, using the object of child class, how many data items I can access? N plus m, right? Using the object of child class. So how many inheritance is actually happening? Single, right? One class is inheriting all the properties of another class. One level, only one level is there, right? One class, one parent class, one child class. One child class is inheriting all the properties of parent class. So this kind of inheritance is called what? Single inheritance. Means only one item is performing inheritance. Correct. One item, one class is acquiring all the properties of another class. So that is called single inheritance. Then, do we have any other type of inheritance? Multi-level, okay. Then, any other? Hierarchy, okay. Then, hybrid. Okay. Correct. So actually these are the different types. Correct. We have discussed about single. That means what? One parent class and one child class will be there. Using the child class object, how many items I can access? N plus m, both parent class items and also child class items together, right? Then what is multi-level? Same thing, correct? Same thing, one more child class will be there which is extending. So this I can say 1. Multiple child classes are there, so I am representing 1 and 2. So here I will say extends parent class. Then one second, here I will say this child class is extending all the properties of parent class. So child class have m items child class have, right? Child class property is what? M. Correct. Parent class property is n. So how many items I can access using this object? N plus m. So consider one another item is also there, which is okay. All items are there inside this third class. Third class means what? Second child class. So this child class is extending child class 1. So how many items in total I can access using the object of child class 2? N plus M is already there in child class 1. Along with that I am accessing O items. So N plus M plus O. Understanding? Just to understand the concept I am giving this idea. To make you clear about the concept I am giving this idea. So N items are there, M items are there, O items are there. So using this object, how many items I can access? Object of this class. Using the object of this class, how many items I can access? N plus M plus O. So I can again add levels of inheritance. How many levels of inheritance are there here? 2. So if it is one level, it is single. If it is multi-level, it is multi-level inheritance. More than one level. So child class 1 is extending all the properties of parent class 1. Child class 2 is extending all the properties of child class 1. So levels of inheritance are there, right? That is why we are calling multi-level inheritance. Then what is hierarchy? Same, we will take the single level inheritance here. Okay. So parent class, child class, same. Child class is doing what? So here extends parent class. So how many items? N plus M. Another child class is there, so this is child class 1. Oh, here also I forgot to add 1. Correct. Then here child class 2 have O items. We can consider O items. But if this child class is extending child class 1, it is same as multi-level, right? So what combination we are going to do here is, we will extend parent class. That means, can I get all the properties of child class 1 in child class 2? Is there any relation between these two classes? Listen carefully. Is there any difference between, any relation between these two classes? Class 1 and class 2. Class 1 is extending all the properties of parent class. Class 2, child class 2 is extending all the properties of parent class. So how many items I can access using the object of child class 2? N plus O. Understanding? Any doubt? So these are some different types of inheritance. Inheritance means nothing. We can access all the properties of one class in another class. And that inheritance I can perform in different way, in different types. The types we have to understand. But we are not actually focusing on the type, we will focus on the requirement in the project. If I have to access one class in another class, I will use extend there. We will not focus on what kind of inheritance we are performing. We will not focus on that. We can use any type of inheritance based on the requirement. Understanding what I am saying? Okay, then if I am adding one more data here, one more class here, child class 3. Child class 3 will extend which class? Same parent class. So one parent class, different child classes, all the child classes are extending same parent class. Correct. In multi-level, if I am adding one more child class, what will be the inheritance? Child class 3 will extend child class 2. First parent class will come in multi-level, then first subclass is extending parent class, second subclass is extending first subclass. In that way it is going like levels. That is why we are calling multi-level. Here it is hierarchy. It is a type of tree structure, right? It is growing like a tree, right? Like one parent class is there, all the child classes are extending the same parent class. So in all subclasses we can see the properties of parent class, but there is no relation between each individual subclasses. Correct? Any doubt in this? Any doubt in this inheritance type? Concept of inheritance is also understanding, right? Idea of inheritance, because this idea is required to implement our next OOP concept, abstraction. We will discuss that, but before that we have to know what is inheritance, what is the use of inheritance. Okay, so what is hybrid? Combination of no, there is no definition, we cannot define it. Combination of any of these three. We can create n combination, so we cannot give one particular definition for that. Correct? Any combination of multi-level and hierarchy. Any combination. It can be like, I am taking this example. I cannot specify one proper design because it is hybrid. Any combination it will take. So if I can give you one example. Here what we are doing, parent class, child class 1 is extending parent class, child class 2 is extending child class 1. So I can create one more child class. One another child class I am taking, that is child class 3. This have p items. Okay, I am just taking some variable for referring that difference in number. So this will extend. If this is extending child class 2, what is that meaning? It is just multi-level only, right? If this child class is extending parent, then it will become hybrid. Correct? It is a combination of hierarchy and multi-level. So in like we can create this combination in n ways. So we cannot specify one proper example for this, one proper design for this. So how many items I can access? N plus p. Any doubt in this? Even I can access another class I can create. Extends child class 1. So how many items I can access using this object of this child class 4? N plus m plus q. Correct? So this is actually what, a combination of hierarchy and multi-level. So any combination that we can make using hierarchy and multi-level is hybrid. There is no other definition for it because we cannot specify one design. So any combination of multi-level and hierarchy. Then last one. What is this type of inheritance? Multiple. How the structure will be? What is called multiple? Okay, I have a parent class 1 have n items. So using the object of parent class 1, how many items I can access? Using the object of parent class 1, how many items I can access? So I have one another parent class also. So using the object of second parent class, how many items I can access? Okay, then I have one child class that is extending. Okay, this have O items. This is extending. Yes. Parent class 1, parent class 2. But this is not possible in Java. So we cannot create this kind of inheritance. Using class, this is not possible. That is the main point. Using classes, we cannot implement multiple inheritance. Okay, so multiple inheritance means what? We have multiple parent classes. That is called multiple inheritance, right? Multi-level means what? Levels of inheritances are there. Levels of inheritance. Getting my point? Multiple inheritance means what? For one subclass itself, we have two parent classes. In that name itself, we have to identify what is the difference. You don't have to by heart anything. Using the name itself, you have to identify what is the meaning. Multiple, single. What is single inheritance? Single inheritance. Only one inheritance is performing on the subclass. Correct. Multi-level means what? Single inheritance is performing in different levels. Multi-levels are there. Then hierarchy means what? Hierarchy. One parent class, and it is all the subclasses are extending one parent class. Then what is hybrid? Multi-level and high. So any combination, it can be any combination. We cannot specify. We can give one example. That's it. We cannot say that is the only one model. Correct. Then multiple. For one subclass, we have multiple parents, which is not possible using classes in Java. So are you understanding all the different types of inheritance? All different type of inheritance. So based on this, I will give you one program today. You can try to do that program, and I will give that as an homework. I have shared one PDF with you. You can open that PDF right now and read the question carefully. Open the PDF and read the question carefully. This is not related to inheritance. This you can use you can take as an example of class and object. You can create a class, blueprint class you can create the objects. So how many items are there inside that class? How many variables are there? Properties. 8 properties are there, right? Okay. So what is the class name? Player is the class name, right? Okay, then what are the things available inside, what are the things we have to create inside the class? Okay, that is variable. Other than variables are 8 variables are available. Okay, we have to create this, and one special note is there. ID should be auto generated. We don't have to create the ID. We don't have to give the ID from user. ID, if I am creating an object, first object's ID should start with one fixed value we will set. Using that value, we have to start the ID. So consider we are starting from 101. Okay. So if I am creating one object, the ID the ID of that object should be what? 101. If I am creating second object, ID of the object should be what? 102. So in that way it should be auto generated. We should not take that from user. User is not allowed to give the ID. Because anywhere, like if we are going anywhere, ID is not taking by user, right? ID will be auto generated by the system and it will be given, assigned to, it will be auto generated and assigned to the user, right? Anything you can take, your admission number or your roll number, anything, it is all auto generating and assigning to you, right? So in that same way here also, whatever object I am creating, while creating the object, ID should be auto generated and assigned. We will discuss how to do that. Like I will give you the hint. Hint is using static key, static variable. You can use this. You can use this auto generating technique using static variable. I will give you that idea later. You can try it right now. You can create this program right now. Blueprint class you can create. I will show you the idea how to create that static, that I will show you later. Before that you can try it first. So it will be more like you can experience that first, right? Then I will give you that idea afterwards. So that is, ID should be auto generated here. Then we have another thing, constructor we have to create. How many constructors? 2 constructors. What are the parameters we have to take? Name, that is also given here, right? So you have to follow this. You cannot change anything in this question. Whatever listed in that question, you have to create that. Then what is there? Generate all getter setter. But while creating all getter setter, don't give setter method for ID. Because ID is auto generating, user is not allowed to set the ID later. Correct. So we will not give set ID method. That you should not give. Get ID is okay. Correct. We will not allow user to change that ID. Then name, 2 methods are required. What is the name of the method? First method, get strike rate. What is strike rate? How many variables are there here? So using this variable, how can I get strike rate? Number of runs scored by only centuries, number of matches, search what is strike rate, search what is strike rate. There is no, at least there is no one cricket fan, I think, right? Runs scored by balls faced. Correct. Runs scored by balls faced. So we have both the variables here, right? Do we have both the variables available here? Runs scored, balls faced. Can we find out strike rate now? Getting my point? So that you have to create as a method inside the blueprint class. This method is static or non-static? I given one idea yesterday, right? If you are creating a method and that method is going to perform inside the object or based on one data of the object, then it will be non-static. If I am performing some operation based on n number of objects, then I can give that method as static. Here strike rate is performing on how many objects? Strike rate only one, right? How many objects? Objects is mine. One, right? Inside one object we have 2 data. With that 2 data I can find out strike rate. Understanding what I am saying? So this method will be static or non-static? Non-static is enough. So arguments, any arguments required? Do I have to pass any argument while calling this method? No, right? because this we are creating in blueprint class. So already the variable is available there, so I can directly use. So I just have to write get strike rate, object name dot get strike rate. So I will get the strike rate of that object, correct? Then the calculation is here, you don't have to even search that in Google. Fine. Then what is this? Runs scored in boundary. How we can find out? Runs scored in boundary means what? We have 4s and 6, right? We have 4s and 6, 6 and 4. So using this, how we can find out how many runs he scored? 4 into number of 4s into 4 plus number of 6 into 6. Total is what? Runs scored in boundary, correct? So if I am performing 4 into 4s and 6 into 6s, I will get the runs scored in boundary. So this also is, I am performing this operation in one object or multiple objects? One object or multiple objects? Runs scored in boundary. One object, right? That one particular object contains 8 data. Using that data, if I am performing any operation, that I can use as a non-static element, correct? Because I am focusing on creating this method for one object, correct? If I am focusing on creating a method for one object, I can use that as non-static. If I am performing some operation on multiple objects, then I can create that as static. What is the difference between static and non-static elements? Non-static elements are created inside the object. While creating the object, we will create the non-static elements inside the object. What about static items? Static items will always reside inside the class. So any object can use this, correct? Because it is shared among, that static content will be shared among all the objects. So any object can use that, but it is not created inside the object because it is outside the object. It is inside the class. So static and non-static items. Any doubt in that? So when you have to create a static method, when you have to create a non-static method? No, when you have to create, what is the situation? How you will identify whether this class, whether this method I have to create a static or non-static? If I am performing any operation on multiple objects, then static is using for what? If I am performing any operation on multiple objects, we can use static. If I am performing some operation on one single object, inside one single object, with that value variables of one single object, I am performing some operation. There I can use non-static, because non-static item only requires that variables values, right? To perform some operation, we require that variable values, nothing else. So that variable items are already there in that object. So I can create that method also inside that object. Getting my point? So in that way you have to think whether I have to keep this method as static or non-static. Any doubt in this? Is that clear? Okay, so this method also you will create as static or non-static? Non-static, right? Okay. Then what is this? Last message. Display the player details with highest strike rate. So if you are creating multiple objects of a class, where you will store that object? Arrays, right? If you are creating multiple objects for a class, where you will store that objects? In array. So if you have created that in an array, I given yesterday one program. What is that program? Find the elder user. Same thing, right? Find the highest strike rate player. Print all the details about the highest strike rate player. Same item here, right? Try to implement this. Do it fast. And after this we will do one example also using inheritance. Same thing using inheritance. So do it fast. How many variables are there in our file, our blueprint class? Okay. So how we can create our blueprint class? What is the name of blueprint class here? Player, right? So player I created. How many variables are there? So all the variables are private, right? Private int id, private int name. Is that int name in that file? Okay, string name. Then private int run score, in that way you have to create all the variables, all that 8 variables. How many variables are there? If 8 variables are mentioned in the question, you have to create 8 variables. That 8 variables are created. How many items should be auto generated here? Only ID, right? Only one data. For that we will create. Listen here. I have seen that you are doing in a wrong way. That is why I am giving this idea again. All that 8 variable we have to mention as non-static elements. That is object items. How many auto generating values are here in this? How many values are auto generating? That many static variable you have to create. Getting my point? So one static variable you have to create here. Static. What is the data type? Int only. In ID we are auto generating, right? Int. So you cannot give directly ID because already one variable is there. So I am giving auto ID. Then what is the starting point? From where you have to start? Okay, if your plan is to start from 1, you can give 1, or else you can give anything else also. You can start from anywhere. That is your decision. Like based on your system, you can start from any point. So here I am starting from, my concern is to start from 101. 101. So I am giving 100 here. So first object, if I am creating, that object ID will be what? 101. So what I have to take, what I have to do, I have to take the data from here, update one, save that as my ID of the particular object. Again, if I am creating another object, we will update the value here. We are updating the value here also, right? First what we are doing, we will take the data, update the data, save the data. Understanding what I am saying? Auto generated ID 100 is there. We will take 100. We will update this value as 101 and save the data into ID of that particular object. Again, when I am creating next ID, I will take the value. What is the value right now in auto generating or auto ID? 101. That value I will update and add that into ID of the particular object. So every time ID will be auto generating, right? Continuous value we will get, right? Starting from 101 to n number of IDs. that many IDs will be auto generated. So that is why we are using this as a separate static data. Why static? Even if I am creating n object, static data, whatever changes I am making in static data will be same for all objects. If I am using this as a non-static element, this will be created inside the object. Then how will I know what data what data I have to assign for a new variable? Correct. Simple example I can give you. If I am saying you have to take a count starting from here. You have to take a count starting from here. So first person will start from what? 1, right? Second person know that first person's value is 1. Second person will choose 2. Third person will be 3, because that person know the value of previous person, right? Getting my point? Here also what we are doing, we are creating a static data. Any object, whenever I am creating a new object, any object can access this value, right? Any object can access this value, right? So when I am giving the value to an object, I will update the data also. So next object will get the next value, right? Understanding what I am saying? Whenever I am going to initialize an ID value, I will update the ID value and save it. So updation is happening. So that updated value will be there for the next object. So every time when a new object is coming, this value is automatically changing for all objects. Correct. But ID is fixed, right? ID is a private data for that object. This is the public data for that object. I'm not talking about access modifiers. Static concept I'm talking. Correct. Understanding what I'm saying? Everyone. So this technique we can use for auto generation, right? First object, when I'm creating first object, I will check what is the data here. The data I will update the data and save the value. So first object is coming, it is finding 100 is the data. What it will store? 101. Because first it will add the data to this auto ID. Plus auto ID is what? Adding one value to auto ID and saving that value into that particular object's ID. So object 1 ID is what right now? 101. Auto ID is updated, right? What is the updated value? 101. Second object is coming. Blindly second object will take the data, update the value, save it. So what is the data ID of second object? 102. Auto generating, right? This is the technique we are going to use. So that is why I said how many auto generating values are there, that many static data we have to create. So we will not create this inside the object. That is why we are keeping this as static. This is a class content. Understanding what I am saying? So I have created that object. So I have to, what are the remaining things I have to create? Parameterized constructor. So at that time I don't have to select ID. If you have created ID in your parameterized constructor, remove ID. You don't have to create ID in your parameterized constructor. So this will be the format of parameterized constructor. It will start from which variable? String. So from string to last data, all the data will be assigned from the constructor, from the parameter of the constructor, right? Understanding this point? So we are not using ID because ID is going to auto generate. That logic we have to write actually. Fine. Then what is next? Default constructor. So first we will create default constructor, then we will create parameterized constructor. How we can create default constructor? Public class name, right? Then bracket, parenthesis. So default constructor is also created. Are you understanding what is the use of default constructor? So if we don't have all the data, we have to use some another mechanism to create the object, right? So that is default. So we will not give any values there, we will just create the object. After that we will add the values one by one. So whatever value we don't have, that will be considered as default values. So constructor is also created. What is next? Getter setter. All the data I have to use, right? But auto ID, should I have to use this auto ID in this one? Can I use auto ID here for getter setter? I don't have to give access to that one, right? So I will deselect auto ID. And also ID, get ID is required. Set ID. So what I will do is, after creating that getter and setter, I will remove that set ID. So I am selecting, I have removed that auto ID and all are selected, generated. From this, what I will remove? Because ID we are not going to allow user to set the value. It is auto generating. So I don't have to give that here. Understanding this concepts. So have you made if you have made any mistake while implementing this blueprint class, make the changes. Also one more thing is there, last data. What is that? ToString. That also you can generate from here. So in that ID will come, name, all other things, correct? That's it. So check your program. If you have made any mistake, you have to change that, you have to correct that mistakes. One second. Yeah, tell me. Getter method, setter method, and we have to create two more methods, right? Before and also auto incrementing option. So till this point, is your code correct? Check. If it is not, correct it fast. So right now into this blueprint class, we are going to implement that auto generating ID technique. So what is the technique what is the logic we discussed? Whenever an object is creating, at that time what we will do? We will take the auto ID value, increment it and update the ID. So how we are creating the object? Using what we are creating the object? Constructor. So this constructor will be called, right? At that time, how can I take auto ID value here? Can I take auto ID value here? How can I take auto ID value here? ID equal to plus plus auto ID will give us what? What we will initialize into ID? 101, right? Because auto ID is 100, we will update the value, that updated data will be initialized to the ID variable, and auto ID value is updated, right? So it will remain as 101. At that time, when the next object is creating, at that time, what is the auto ID value? 101. It will be updated as 102 and I will store it back. Correct. Only one line I added. What is the use of this line? Auto generating the ID. So why we are using that in this player constructor? Because object is creating when constructor is called. At the time of constructor is called, object will be created. So at that time I have to initialize this item. Correct. Any doubt in this? But I have a doubt. This is working here, but if I am creating an object without this parameterized constructor, then ID will be what? Default value, not null, integer data, right? So 0. So there also I have to create auto generation. Auto generation means even if it is parameterized or default, I have to get auto generated value. So what can I do there? What we can do? Default constructor also id equal to plus plus auto id. Any doubt? Because that is the only two way to create the object. In that two ways we will give this same function, same operation. I can also do one more thing. Don't confuse, I can also do one more thing. I can use, we are using getter setter, right? Here listen carefully. I can use private void set id. I don't have to take the id from anywhere. This dot id equal to, or normally id equal to, because we don't have two variables here, right? If we have two same variables, then we will use this. So id equal to plus plus auto id, then set auto id I will call from here, set id. Can you see set id here? This also I will call from, I will call set id from here also. Same, right? And why I given private to that one particular method? Remaining all methods are public. Why I given private to this method? What is the use of giving private? From outside we cannot set the value. There is no option to set the value from outside, and also no parameters, right? We are not using any parameters. So this will be accessible only from inside the class, and from both of the constructor I am calling this method. So it will set the id. Any doubt in this? So this is just a way I am showing. You can explore in this way also. Any doubt? Is this clear? So complete this implementation. Only two things are more to finish this blueprint class implementation. What are the two things? What is that? Okay, where will I create that? How will I create? How can I create that? Public float, okay. Get strike right. Then do I have to take any value from user? No. Correct. Because all the values are to find out strike rate. What are the values are required? Runs code and balls faced. Both datas are here in this object, right? So how can I use that? What I have to find out? Strike rate. How can I find out what is the equation for finding strike rate? Runs scored into 100. Then divided by balls faced. What is this value? What is the data type of that result? So I am performing integer divided by integer. Will I get point value? So if I have to get point value, what should I do? One of this one or this one, numerator or denominator of the division method. One of that item should be in. How can I make that float? 100f is also possible. Or what we can do? We can keep this in a bracket. In front of this I can give float. So which data will be converted to float? Is that the result of this one? No. This will be converted to float. This is typecasting, right? What type of typecasting is this? Explicit. That is why I already said while doing calculation in our second module, you have to use this kind of typecasting techniques. Otherwise, your expected answer will be something else, you will get 0. Answer will be 0, expected answer will be something else, point values. Clear? So we have a lot of ways you can select any way. Even if I am doing like this, will I get the result? Which data is converting? Runs scored will be converted to float. Float into integer. Result will be float. Float divided by integer. Result will be float. So in any way, I have to get float as and a value. Float as a result to this division operation. That is our goal. To the result of this division, I have to get the float value, not the integer data. Then what about the remaining? One more method is there, right? Public bound runs code in boundary. So how can I what can be the data type? Int. Okay. Yes, int. Then because we will not say I scored point values, right? It will be exact whole number. So int get what? Runs scored in boundaries. Do I have to take any value from user? In blueprint class, whatever method we are creating, we will use our instance variables to find out the result. So that is why we are not giving any parameters. Blueprint class methods will use instance variables to find out the result. Understanding? From where this value is coming? This is instance variable, right? Instance variable of the class. So here also we don't have to take any value from user. That object data we will take and find out the result. So how we can find out the result here? How we can find out the result? 4 into force plus 6 into 6. Any doubt? So our blueprint class implementation is done. One more item we have to add into our blueprint class, right? That is highest strike rate. So how can I find out highest strike rate? For one object only one strike rate is there. So highest strike rate means is that method working on one object or multiple object? So what will be this method? Static, right? So public static. Then what is the result? Highest strike rate means what is the data type? Float. Okay, float, right? Strike rate. Then get, what is the method name? Highest. Then any data is required? Array of what array we have to use here? What is the data type of our object? What is the class name? What is the class name here? That is the data type of our object, right? So player array, we can say players, correct? Then how can I find out highest strike rate? Anyway, this method we will call only after creating the number of player objects. This method we will call only after we have created the number of players and number of players from the main method. So that player array we will pass here. In that array multiple objects are there. Multiple player objects are there. We have to find out which object have the max strike rate. For finding max value we are using same logic, right? That same item we can use here also. How can I write the code here? Don't give int. Right now our data is what? Float. Highest strike rate. So float max equal to, we can take player of 0 dot, where is the first strike rate? From where can I get the first strike rate? First object, this is first object, right? Array of 0 is my first object, right? First object dot, think, you have to think. Correct. Dot players of 0 dot get strike rate. So I will get the strike rate of first player object, that I will store as max. Then what should I do next? If directly, how many player objects are there? For int I equal to, from where I can start now? Do I have to start from 0? 1, because 0 is already taking here, right? So I will start from 1, then last data will be what? Players, then max logic is always same. What is the max logic? Max less than. When we will update, if I am finding a new data which is maximum than this one, greater than this one, so less than players of I dot, are you understanding this, everyone? Same logic only, right? Finding max is the same logic. Get strike rate. So here I am comparing strike rates with all the objects. Strike rate I am comparing of all the objects, and I will always store the max strike rate in this max variable. But along with this I need something else also. What is that? Along with the finding just max strike rate, I have to find out the full player details. How can I find out the player details? We can do multiple options. We can take one index variable. This also we did before. Int index. Correct. Equal to, first we will take what? 0. Then every time if I am updating max variable, what I will do? I will update max players of I dot get strike rate equal to max. Correct. We are assigning that into max. Along with this, I have to track the index also. Then only after this loop I can understand which object have highest strike rate. Getting my point? That is why we are tracking the index. So index equal to I. Always index will track the index position of the max strike rate, and max value will find the maximum strike rate in the all different object. Correct. That max value will come into max, index value, the object index will come into the index. Any doubt? This same type of program we did, right? Yes or no? Which program we did in this Elder? Any other programs in the same manner? No? Get max. That is also same only, right? Every time we used the same logic. So here by using this technique I will get the maximum strike rate in max variable and the index of that object in index variable. So what can I do here? What I am going to, okay, get strike rate what I have to return actually based on the question? Player details, right? Not the highest strike rate. So how can I get the player detail? The return type will be player object. That object itself I can transfer. This is the data type I am going to transfer. So return. I have the index. Right now I have the index. Where I have maximum data, that index I have. So players of index. For what I am using index? To track the player position in the array. Correct. Who have the maximum strike rate? That index position of the object we will track using index. So once this loop is completed, we will get the maximum strike rate in max. We will get the position of that object in index. So what can I do? Array of that position will be the object which have maximum strike rate. Getting my point? Clear? So this I will transfer back to my main method. This is the method which we have to implement here. So even I have 10 object, 20 object, 50 object, this idea will work, right? Yes or no? Any doubt in this? In any line, do you have doubt? Why we are using this like are you getting confused? Think and let me know if you have any doubt. So guys, do you have any doubt in this blueprint class implementation? Do you have any doubt? No? Clear, right? This concept is clear, right? Okay. So here whatever, like what is this item? What are this selected item? Instance variable, right? All these variables are like, actually we can say these all are related to batsman, right? Batsman, right? Because it is talking like here we can see the properties: run scored, century, balls faced, sixes, fours. All these things are related to what? In cricket, batsman, right? So if I am creating an application for cricket, not player, like let it be player. How many players are there in cricket? No, I am not talking about the number of players. Different roles in cricket. So all-rounder, like first thing is batsman and bowler. Batsman and bowler. All-rounder is what? Combination of these two. That one person will bowl and bat. That is all-rounder. Correct. Then we have wicket keeper is also what actually? Additionally, one more item one person is doing. That is wicket keeper, right? That person can bat, like that person how to bat and keep. Correct. So it is also kind of all-rounder kind of. I am talking about like if we are talking about all-rounder, he will bat and bowl. So wicket keeper also have two different roles. That's it. But basically we have only two categories. What is that? Batsman, bowler. So you can consider that two categories. Even if you want to implement that remaining category also, you can implement. First I will give you these two ideas. So consider one class, we are going to create one project on cricket. So in that cricket, two type of players are there. One is bowler and another one is batsman. So if I am creating a blueprint class for that cricket project, how many blueprint classes I have to create? For batsman, one class anyway. This we can consider as a blueprint class for batsman. For bowler also we can create, right? Bowler also I can create another blueprint class. But the problem is these two items batsman, bowler. B-O-L-E-R, right? Bowler. Two items are there. Batsman and bowler. So, if I am creating one object for the system, I have to get the ID of that first object as, it can be bowler or batsman, anything. ID of the first object will be 101 and it can be a batsman. Then I am creating another object. It should not be 101 bowler. ID is right at that time, ID is again repeating, right? We should not allow this case. So every time whenever I am creating an object, ID should be different. Can you say one, like, do any batsman or bowler sharing one ID in cricket? No, right? Every players have individual IDs. Batsman and bowler is just a one additional capability to that player. They will come under one category, right? Player. Understanding what I am saying? We are creating a project for cricket here. That is the problem. If I am creating only batsman idea, then whatever we did is correct. We completed that program, right? That is correct. But here our focus is on what? Batsman and bowler. Both are players. Correct. Both are players. I should not share IDs in between these two objects of batsman and bowler. Every time when I am creating an object should be ID should be unique or different. How we can create this? Understanding the situation, we are going to create objects of batsman and bowler. At that time, ID should not be same for any object. For any object, ID should not be same. Two constructors for that anyway we will create, because this is a different blueprint class, this is a different blueprint class. But ID should not be same at any point. It should be different from another. One object to if I am taking one object from bowler and one object from batsman, ID should be different. So what we can do for that? How many common properties are there? Like we discussed about some properties, right? How many properties we discussed? ID, name, then ID, name, run scored is based on batsman's property. Then all other properties are batsman. So ID and name can be there for bowler also, right? So that property is sharing. That property is sharing among batsman and bowler. So I can create a blueprint class for player, where the properties will be what? Correct. And I can inherit this player in batsman. So what will be the data in batsman and bowler? What type of inheritance is this? Hierarchy. That is what I said. We will not focus on what kind of what type of inheritance we will use. Based on the situation, we will apply. So here the situation is what? Player is there. So here I can auto generate the ID, right? So if I am auto generating ID here, then I don't have to create or auto generate ID in batsman or bowler. So ID always will be unique. Getting my point? Is that correct? ID always will be unique because that is creating in player. If I am creating ID or auto generating ID in batsman, all ID in batsman will be different, but there is a chance of creating same IDs for batsman and bowler. Understanding what I am saying? Yes or no? So for that we can use one thing, we can use player class. We can create a blueprint class for player. In that we will create the items which is shared among, like common items of this batsman and bowler. What are the common items available? ID and name, right? Any other things are there? That is enough. So we are giving that two items in player class, and we will extend player class into batsman and bowler. So in batsman, how many attributes I have to focus on? Runs scored. I don't have to specify ID and name because those items will come from player class. So here I have to focus on runs scored, then half centuries, balls faced, fours and six. Correct? Right? In bowler, what are the things I can take? In bowler. So I have a question that question I will share with you. So in this question it is saying like, note down right now. And how we can find out strike rate for bowler? How we can find out that? Wickets per ball. Reverse. Ball bowled per wicket. How we can find out? Balls bowled per wickets. This will be the equation. So how many blueprint classes we have to create here? How many blueprint classes we have to create? 3. Right. Why we have to create 3 blueprint classes here? Because we are going to create one project. Last time we created what? One class. Just one class and different objects. Here we are focusing on cricket project. So in that 2 entities are there, right? One is batsman and another one is bowler. So both are players. Correct. So ID should not be repeating. We cannot create ID separately in batsman or separately in bowler. So we will create that in common one parent class, then it will extend to batsman and bowler. So this we will do next. That question I will share. Create one separate package for this, because here we have multiple blueprint classes and we will use one main method class also to implement this. So what you have to do first? This is the question. You can read the question now. What do you have to do first? What is this? Read. Player class you have to implement. Then how many variables are there? So total how many variables you will create in player class? Only 2. ID and name is already there. Then what is the third point? Auto generator. So what you will do? 1 static variable and 2 non-static variables. Non-static variables are for object, static variable is for auto generating. Correct. Then parameterized constructor. You can use default constructor and parameterized constructor here. Then what is this? Getter, setter method and toString. Do you know how to create all these things? Any doubt in all these things? Then after creating that blueprint class, to create that blueprint class, how much time you will take? So after that, what you have to do? You have to create the batsman class. And what? Here what is that? Can you read this line? Inherits the player class. Do you know how to inherit a player super class? Extends player. Correct. Then any doubt in creating variables in this batsman? Then parameterized constructor. Then getter, setter methods. Get strike rate is the same which we have used in our so create a new package and you can copy paste that content into new class, because almost everything is same. You can see batsman, all the things are same. Only difference is what? ID and name we will not take here. That you have to focus. ID and name is not in this class. It is coming from player class. So better you can create this here. These variables in the new class and auto generate all the other items. Okay. Constructor you can auto generate. ToString method you can auto generate. Getting my point? Then getter, setter also. After that, what do you have to do? Bowler class. How many variables? And parameterized constructor, getter, setter method, and 2 methods are additionally. 1 method is there. Only additionally 1 method is there. Then ToString. Can you create this right now? Like any doubt in this? Almost all the things we discussed, but only one thing is integrating that parent class and child class. That is the only one like additional item, right? So try to do that program. So while doing this program, you might get some confusions. At that time, like if you are getting confused, you just let me know, I will help you. Listen everyone. To complete that program, you required super keyword, because how you will create, like after creating all that 3 blueprint classes are there, right? So after creating all these 3 blueprint class, on which class you will make objects? Do you have that confusion? On which class you will make object? Object of which class? If you are making object of player class based on inheritance, how many items I can access? How many items I can access? If I am creating object of player class, how many items are there in player class? 2. You can access only 2 items. So can you make object of player class? No. If I am making object of batsman, how many items you can access? It will be same 8, right? Correct. Like non-static items I am saying. 8 only, right? I don't know, count it. 8. So 2 items are there in player class, remaining 6 are there in batsman. So we have to create object of batsman, correct? Then also we can create object of bowlers, batsman and bowler. So we will create object of batsman and bowler. At that time, how you will initialize? Listen here everyone. If I am creating batsman object or bowler object, it can be anything. At that time, how we will initialize ID and name? How you will initialize ID and name? Correct. You have to use the constructor of superclass. Subclass and superclass is there, right? What is a superclass for batsman? Player. So in player we have constructor to initialize the values of ID and name. Getting my point? How you will access, where you will write the code for accessing that superclass? So leave about this idea right now, because I will give you the idea of super keyword, so that is using for this concept. You have to implement this program. I will give you the idea of super keyword. So what is the use of this keyword? This keyword will point to current class instance, right? Current class instance. So super keyword will point to superclass instance. So from using super keyword I can access super constructor, correct, super variables, super methods, anything I can access using super keyword. Super keyword is coming in which OOP concept? Think. Super keyword will come in which concept of OOP? Inheritance. Where is that super class? In inheritance, right? Child class and super class concept is coming in inheritance. So there we can use this super keyword. What is the use of super keyword? To point the super class instance. So we are not creating different object for player class. We will use that items in our batsman, and to initialize the values we will use super constructor. So I am creating, this is, you can consider this is my parent class. So here I have two datas. Let's say ID and name itself. Okay, ID and name. So this is my super class. I will create one subclass. So I have created subclass. So don't get confused. I have demo superclass, super keyword is my parent class name, correct? Demo super, you can give any name. I just given like this to give you the demo of this one. So to complete the implementation of this blueprint class, how many other things I have to create? How many other things I have to create? Then this is what? Parameterized constructor, then default constructor, then what are the other things required? Getter, setter. Getter, setter is also ready. Then done. So here you have to implement auto generation. That is a different thing. Already I discussed, so I am not showing that. Clear? Here you have to create a static data for your player class I am saying, not for this class. because player class is auto generating, right? ID is auto generating in player class. So that same thing whatever we discussed today, that you can implement there. Then remaining, this is the, like, I have to give you the idea of super keyword. Where can you use that keyword and how it will work? Getting my point? So this is my super class implementation. Anything is left? I created two variables. Two constructors are there, default and parameterized. Then getter setter methods are there. ToString is also there. Any doubt? This we are creating from the first day of Core Java. Okay, then. So I am saving this code. I am going to subclass. Subclass extends what? What is the superclass name? Demo super keyword. Correct. This is my superclass name. So I am extending it. I am not adding any data here. Or let's say I will add int. Just I am taking one variable score. This is my only one variable here. So in subclass, if I am creating an object of subclass, how many item I can access here? Louder. If I am creating an object of subclass, this is my subclass. If I am creating an object of this one, how many elements I can access? 3, right? 2 are there in superclass, that is ID and name. Here one more item is there, that is score. Okay. So here I will complete the implementation of remaining things. What are the remaining things? Like, how can I complete the implementation of this? Constructor. So while creating constructor, only score I am getting, right? But I have to add not only the score, while creating the object of subclass, I have to take name also, right? If ID is auto generating, I don't have to take that ID from here. If ID is not auto generating, then I have to take that from here. So here in my concept, it is not auto generating. In your concept, it is. In your question, it is auto generating. You have to think. That is why I am giving in this way. So name. These are the 3 datas I required, right? Actually, yes or no? Yes. Okay. So how will I initialize these 2 items? What is this? Super keyword is using for what? Super keyword is using for what? Super keyword is using for pointing the super class. So what is this? Class with the method name will be what? Constructor, right? So this will be what type of constructor? By seeing this, is it a parameterized constructor call, or so this is a constructor calling, correct? Is it a parameterized constructor or default constructor? Default. Let's see whether it is default constructor or not. I have created default constructor, right? I have created, so I will remove this. So what will happen actually if I am removing default constructor? In a normal class, if I am removing default constructor, then if I am removing default constructor from a normal class, it will show us to use the parameterized constructor, or it will show error. So here also let's see whether it will show error or not. Is that showing error? Are you understanding the relationship here? That you can relate the concept here, right? I am trying to call default constructor, but default constructor is not there. So I will add again that back. Error is gone, right? So in this way I am accessing default constructor. So how can I access parameterized constructor? What should I do here? This is what, is this a constructor creation or calling? So what should I do here? ID, comma, name. Anything else required? So how many datas are there in parameterized constructor? 2. That 2 datas I am giving and I am calling this constructor. This will assign what? ID and name. In your concept, you have to auto generate ID. Don't forget that. Okay. In like I am just giving you the idea of super keyword. So I am not using any auto generation. Are you understanding why I am repeating this again and again? Because in your question it is auto generating. Fine. So super keyword I can use for what? Pointing the super class items. If it is a constructor, I will use constructor bracket. Super constructor bracket is what? Super class constructor. I can call default constructor or I can call parameterized constructor. This is how we will call parameterized constructor. Any doubt in this? Yes or no? Can I call any variable from superclass using dot? Yes or no? This is also possible. Okay. Super is using for what? Pointing the superclass. While pointing superclass, I can access anything inside that superclass. Using super keyword, I can access anything inside the superclass. So I can easily access this constructor, right? So I can give the values, it will store the value. So object of this subclass will contain 3 variables. Each variable will get initialized also. Understanding what I am trying to say? Correct. While creating the object of subclass, we are passing 3 datas and that 3 datas are going to initialize in that 3 variables of the object by the help of super keyword. This is enough, right, to complete your program right now. Whatever program remaining all the things are already discussed. Only this is the part you don't know how to integrate. Correct. So super keyword you can use for initializing that value. You don't have to create any object of player class. We are inheriting that. So we can use this technique to initialize the values. From batsman class, you will take all the data except ID, because ID is auto generating. Except ID, you will take all the data from batsman class. From bowler class also same. And name you will pass to super class, because ID is auto generating. In your super class, here in this constructor, ID will not be there because it is auto generating in your program. So whatever name is coming, that name you will initialize in this way. ID you have to write the code for auto generation. You can complete that program, right? Understanding? Any doubts? So read the question again. Once again you can read the question and try to complete that program. So how many things we discussed today from beginning? Listen, how many things we discussed today from beginning? Inheritance, type of inheritance. How many types are there? 5. What is the first type? Single. Single means what? Acquiring all the properties of one class to another class. One level inheritance. That is single inheritance. Then multi-level is there. That means what? One acquiring all the properties of one class to another class. Again we are performing this one level multiple times. Levels of inheritance multiple times. So that is multi-level. So class A is parent class. Class B is subclass of class A. Class C is subclass of class B. You can take the example in that way. Simple examples. Then what is hierarchy? One parent class, multiple subclasses, child classes. So all the child classes are inheriting one class, one parent class. So that is hierarchy. So after that we have hybrid. What is hybrid? Any combination of multi-level and hierarchy is hybrid. Then multiple. What is multiple? In multiple inheritance, we have two parent classes and one child class is trying to inherit two parent classes, which is not possible using classes in Java. Using classes, it is not possible. We will discuss how we can make it possible later, tomorrow. Tomorrow we will discuss how we can make that possible to perform multiple inheritance. Okay. Also we have like one topic is pending, I think. That is the difference between, like I said, I will show you the difference between protected keyword and default keyword. What is the difference? If I am creating a variable inside a superclass, listen, if I am creating a variable as protected or default, you can do this example by yourself. So note down, you have to create a parent class. You have to create a parent class. Difference between default and protected access modifiers. So you have to create a parent class. You can use any name for that parent class. Inside this parent class, you have to create two variables. One is default access modifier and another one is protected access modifier. So default number 1, you can give any data also, like what example we did for all other access modifiers. In that same way, you can create a parent class. Inside that, you can give default number 1, then another one you can take as protected. Don't forget to keep type also, data type. So protected int number 2 equal to, you can give another data. Fine. So this you are doing in a parent class, right? Consider this is in a package. So we know default and protected will anyway, it can be accessible in same package. It is accessible in same package, but in different packages means what? You can create this in a one package 1, or first package. In this package you are creating parent class. Fine. Another package you can create. Second package. In this we will create the child class. You can use any name here. I'm just giving you that idea of using parent and child. So here you will try to extend parent class. So inheritance is happening, right? Correct? So if you are creating, or here itself you can do one thing. Create the main method in the subclass. Okay, because we are not focusing on creating blueprint or something, right? We are focusing on accessing the data. So you can create the child class with the main method. Inside that, try to access the variables. Do I have to create any object to access this variable? Do I have to create any object of parent class to access the variable in child class? No, right? I don't have to create any object because it is already in inheritance. It is already in inheritance, right? Understanding or not? So parent class, child class is there. Two datas are there in parent class. I am extending parent class. Extends, not extend, extends. Extends parent class. So I don't have to create an object of parent class to access these variables, right? I can directly access because it is in inheritance. Correct. So I can directly print what? Number 1 and number 2. Use this in your Eclipse so you will understand which access modifier is allowing us to give the access here. It will be protected. You can try this. You can try this code. Okay. For this you have to create 2 packages. In first package you will give parent, and second package you will give child. Child is extending parent class. Then try to access the data items of parent class from this child class. So one data is default access modifier and another data is protected. So which data you will get here, that you have to identify. So that is the answer to that question, yesterday's question, difference between default access modifier and protected access modifier. Any doubts?